I used to ask this question a lot. Why do I get so angry? So today I'll explore that question and I hope I'm going to point you towards something different because why you get so angry might not be what you think. I think we misunderstand anger in a huge way. I used to be angry pretty much all the time. I would wake up in the morning and I was in a relationship that perhaps wasn't ideal for me at the time. And that person would invariably have done something because he went to bed later than me. He would have done something or not done something so that I would wake up in the morning. And as soon as I came downstairs, there would be something that I believed to be making me feel angry. I really did think that was true. And it was tiring because it's a lot of energy being angry, isn't it? And if you're asking that question, why do I get so angry? It may well be that you've noticed how exhausting it is and you would like it to stop. Not least because quite often when we get angry all the time, or often we end up saying and doing things that perhaps afterwards we kind of wish we hadn't. I said and did an awful lot of things from a place of anger in the past that I really look back now and I try not to exist in a place of regret, but they weren't good. They were not helpful. So the next layer of this, I think, is that we end up then being really, really hard on ourselves. We see anger as a flaw, as something that we need to control. Now, I talk a lot about our attempts to control ourselves. I talk a lot about our attempts to control the inner critic, to have ourselves with a quieter mind, with a kinder mind, with a mind that isn't so unpleasant and horrible. But I talk a lot about the fact that that is actually utterly exhausting. It really is exhausting to try and control something. And if we see anger as a flaw, then we are going to be in that place of trying to control it. But what if it isn't a flaw? What if being angry is a sign that you're functioning exactly as you're supposed to function? And that all that's happening is that you're misunderstanding a very, very vital signal that's coming from your very clever and wise system. I often say that I think anything that appears in the body, that appears, in here, in our body, and if you're watching me now, rather than you might be listening to me later, but I'm putting my hands on my chest. Anything that appears here, like in the chest, in the stomach, in the gut, that those are signals. And I don't mean a stomach ache from eating some dodgy food. I mean those emotional signs and signals and sensations in the body. They're so often misunderstood. They're a gift. Any emotion, including anger, is revealing something about our thoughts, not the other person, not what they did, not the fact that they said they would empty the dishwasher or refill the dishwasher or whatever, and they haven't done that. Not the fact that you've asked them 17 times to do the very same thing. Just speaking from personal experience here, by the way. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Anger is revealing your thinking about what that person has done or not done or whatever it is. And let's face it, in general, we're angry with other people, aren't we? And with ourselves some of the time. So that's to do with our perception. For me, anger feels like a volcano going off up the middle of my body, like literally, an explosion going off up the middle of my body. And it feels fiery. We say that about anger, don't we? That it feels fiery. Now, I absolutely 100% used to think that that feeling of anger was being caused by the person who was doing or not doing the thing that I think they should have or shouldn't have been doing. That's where I thought it came from. And I suffered a lot because of that. Because then, if we feel the anger is coming from the other person, then it looks like we need to direct our, I'm going to call mine venom. You can call yours whatever you like. We need to spit that venom at that other person, don't we? Get them to stop. If they stop, I can feel okay. But that's not really the way things work for human beings. That feeling of anger doesn't come from them. It comes from our thoughts, our perceptions, our idea of right and wrong, our idea of what the other person should or should not be doing, or what we should or should not be doing. Because when I'm talking about this, I know that a lot of you, and me too, get very angry with ourselves. So the root of anger from our 3 principles inside out perspective is, well, do you know what I was just about to say is that, it's believing that, from a 3 principles perspective, it comes from the inside, and the level of frustration we feel is because we think it comes from the outside. But then the word that came to mind as I was just speaking was fear. It comes from fear. I often say this quote, and I've searched the internet for it, and I can't remember where I heard it first, but it was I'm told that Marianne Williams said, you're right, Marianne Williamson said, she's a teacher of the Course in Miracles, she said, you're either living in love or you're living in fear. And I think anger definitely isn't an emotion of love, is it? Although, to see as well that it is, in a way, it's our clever body loving us and sending us a signal to say, hey, you need to pause right now. Your thinking is really out of kilter. You're believing your shoulds and shouldn'ts about another person. It might be time for you to just stop right now and take a breath. I often say that, the deliberate pause, the purposeful pause is the only tool or technique that I promote, really. We're all going too fast. We're not giving ourselves enough time to see what's going on inside us. We've all reacted before we even notice. And then often comes guilt and shame and us feeling bad about ourselves. When anger shows up, what's happening inside is believing thoughts that are not true. And I know that can be really challenging when the person in front of you is being a right, you know what. I'll let you insert your own word there. It can really seem like if they just stop doing that thing over and over again, it would all feel better. And I remember the first time I had this really profound seeing of this in the moment, and kind of catching it, was receiving a very long, angry, rude WhatsApp message from somebody. And I remember, I'm going like this because my kitchen's over there. I stood in the corner of the kitchen and looking at my phone and just reading the message and feeling this like proper feeling of, like I've mentioned, it's like a volcano going off here, the anger up the middle of the body. And just pausing long enough to hear this wise voice that said, you are not in a fit state to answer this message, put your phone down. And being able to put it down, because that just made so much sense. It was so clear. And later coming back to that message and after I'd had something to eat and watched a bit of telly and chilled out, looked at the message and just thought, oh, that person's really upset. at that upset person who isn't like I wasn't in that moment thinking straight, and there's no point replying. There's no point adding more fuel to that fire. There's just no point. And that doesn't mean, because I think often people go, well, you're just letting people trample all over you then. That doesn't mean that. It means that we pause long enough to settle. And when we're calmer, we may still, from that calm place, want to say something, put a boundary in place, reiterate something that we would like to be a certain way in our home or whatever it is. But the place from which we do that then is completely different. And finally, I want you to hopefully take from this video and this session, just take something around this. Anger that you're experiencing does not make you broken or a mess, or that you're a flaw, or there's something wrong with you. I think if we can put that down, if we can put the self-judgment down, if we can step more into a space of self-compassion, the anger thing will ease more quickly. Because I think part of it is we're just angry with ourselves. We feel angry, and then we feel angry that we feel angry, and that doesn't help anything at all. So, you might have at the start of this video thought that you get angry because other people do stupid things. I was going to say a swear word then, but I won't do that. But I'm hoping you're seeing now that anger is also an inside-out thing. It comes from within. And I really hope that's been helpful and helps you to be a little kinder to yourself when you're feeling angry too, because we don't need to feel angry with ourselves either. So take care, lots of love, and I